Okay, good morning. Um, hmm. So I started grading the estates assignment. Um, I've gotten through about 20% of the students, and there's a few things that keep coming up that are upsetting. Um, and so I have a list of things that I have found that we're going to go through. And then we're going to call it a day because this is probably not 50 minutes worth of material. But to be perfectly frank, I am not in a position to provide anything additional than this. Yeah, so let's go through this. And some of these will not apply to you. If they don't, feel free to ignore them. But I have graded, like I said, about 20% of students, and I haven't calculated any statistics, but probably both the mean and the median grade are failing right now. So this is a problem, right? Because this is not the outcome that you want, and it's not the outcome that I want. So we're gonna take some time today, and we're going to talk about some of the things that aren't working, right? So the first thing that I want to point out is that if you use the phrase fee tail at any point in your estate's assignment, you have completely missed the boat. The fee tail appears nowhere in this assignment. I want to talk about how you can tell that later today, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, it ain't there, okay? If you think it is, you're wrong, okay? The next thing, number 2, just because someone has children does not mean that they have heirs, okay? Heirs don't exist until you die. So a conveyance that purports to create an interest belonging to the heirs of someone that's alive is doing something else, okay? The conveyance to the heirs has to be acknowledged, right? The language doesn't just disappear. But it's not the end of the conversation, okay? Number 3, I don't know how many times I told you guys, and again, I want to be clear, right? This may not apply to you, and if it doesn't, that's fine. Great job. But on numerous occasions, I said, there is a specific way I want you to explain, to describe a future interest to make your life easy, to make my life easy, right? This was for both of us. This was for everyone. And it was identify the future interest, name the holder, and describe the possessory interest that will come into existence when the future interest vests. If there's a condition, then you should describe the condition. If there's not, then you don't. So it looks like this that I've just put in the chat. Nothing else is necessary. Nothing else is necessary. I do not understand why I'm getting paragraphs upon paragraphs upon paragraphs for this assignment. I really don't. And I have to sit there and I have to try and find the interests in all of this text that just doesn't matter. It doesn't answer anything. And so why? I don't know, okay? Number 4, when it comes to future interests, there are 2 things that matter. The first is, when does the future interest come into existence? And the answer to that is when the possessory interest that creates it comes into existence. And then the second question is, when does the future interest vest? And that is when it becomes possessory. Okay, so if Albert holds a fee simple determinable, then the future interest that attaches to that belongs to someone else, okay, that belongs to Bob, is a possibility of reverter. And then if Bob's possibility of reverter vests into a fee simple determinable, then only at that point, only at the point that Bob's possibility of reverter vests, does Carol's possibility of reverter come into existence. Okay. This stuff, like, this stuff is not nearly as complicated as it seems like a lot of you guys want to make it. It's really just about reading the text. Okay, what does the conveyance say? I have said on numerous occasions that I'm not here to trick you. I've given you specific rules to look for, right? This language means this. And so I don't understand why I'm getting other answers. Okay? So let's talk about the list of possessory interests. Okay, the list of possessory interests, there are 5 of them. 5 of them. There is the fee simple absolute. There is the life estate. There is the fee simple defeasible that you sometimes see referred to as a fee simple subject to executory limitation. There are 2 types of the fee simple defeasible. The fee simple determinable, where the fee ends upon an event occurring, and the fee simple subject to condition subsequent, which ends upon the point where a condition ceases to be true. And the final type of possessory interest is the fee tail, which is a fee simple that is only limited to inheritance to lineal descendants. So it can't be sold, it cannot be bequeathed to a charity, it cannot be inherited by non-lineal descendants. It has to go to the heirs of the body, okay? Now let's talk about the list of the types of future interests. There are 4 of these. There are reversions, remainders, possibilities of reverter, and rights of reentry. Now let's talk about the relationship between the possessory interest and the future interest. The first thing to keep in mind is that the possessory interest defines the future interest that comes after them. So when you tell me that there is a life estate held as a possessory interest, that ends the conversation as to the future interest. There is only 2 types of future interests that go with a life estate. Okay, if someone is granted a life estate, the next person in the chain of title cannot have a possibility of reverter. They just can't. That's not the language. So you have to read the conveyance in order. You have to give every clause meaning. You cannot throw words away. Okay? So if the possessory interest is a fee simple absolute or a fee tail, there is no future interest. There is none. There is none. If the possessory interest is a life estate, then the next future interest must be a reversion or a remainder. If it's a reversion, that goes back to the original grantor. If it's a remainder, it goes to a third party. At no point can a life estate be inherited. Okay? Even in Shelley's case jurisdictions, where there's a life estate followed by a remainder in the life estate holder's heirs, we don't describe it as an inheritable life estate. It becomes fee simple absolute. Okay? If the possessory interest is a fee simple determinable, the next future interest must be a possibility of reverter. And finally, if the possessory interest is a fee simple subject to conditions subsequent, the next future interest must be the right of reentry. The fee tail is disfavored. Okay, in a lot of jurisdictions it's abolished, but not everywhere. And so in order to create the fee tail, because it is disfavored, courts require you to use precise language. Okay. To A and the heirs of his body. If the phrase of his body is not present, it is not a fee tail. Okay. To A and the heirs begotten of a particular spouse, right? A named spouse. Without this language, you do not have a fee tail. You use this language specifically to create a fee tail to exclude heirs that come from prior marriages or potentially subsequent marriages, right? You do not use this language for any other purpose. And if you don't see this language, this purpose is not being met. And finally, you can just say that it's in fee tail, right? Some jurisdictions will recognize this as a precise enough statement of intent. But without the precise language, you do not have a fee tail. This language appears nowhere in the assignment. It should have appeared nowhere in your answer. Next. Awful lot of people look at the phrase to A for life and tell me that it creates a fee simple absolute. This makes the phrase for life have no meaning. You gotta give every word meaning. And finally, the last thing that, no, I'm sorry. There's two more things. The next to last thing is an awful lot of people miss the shadow grant. This is my term, okay? The shadow grant. This is the future interest held by the original grantor if they do not adequately convey fee simple absolute. What you have to look for is you have to look for a condition right? Some sort of condition under which no one who is named in the conveyance can claim fee simple absolute. And that may be a very unlikely set of events, but if there is a set of events where nobody can take, then there must be some sort of retained future interest in fee simple absolute. It may not vest, it may never come into existence, but you have to list it in the interests that are created. Finally, and this really is the last thing, a couple of folks have suggested that that some of the interests in this in the assignment were void for uncertainty. They were not. Let me explain what uncertainty requires. In order for a defeasible fee to be valid, the condition that you are looking for to defeat the fee has to be ascertainable. In other words, we have to be able to answer, has this condition been met or not? Okay. If we can answer that question, then the condition is certain. Okay, so that's the question, is do we know whether this condition has been met? And it's actually fairly hard to write an uncertain condition. I gave you guys an example in the tutorial, maybe not in this tutorial, someone else may have, I think it was in a different tutorial that it came up. But in a couple of tutorials, this has come up, and I gave the example that an uncertain condition would be 2A so long as they're a good person. Well, how do we know? What constitutes being a good person? I don't know. Okay? So, this is everything that I have. I'm really disappointed. But I have faith that you guys can sort of get back to this. And so once we're through all the tutorials this week on Thursday, I'm going to upload all of my common errors that I find, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to resubmit this assignment. Because, wow, this is yikes. So we're going to take another stab at this. We're going to try and get this right. And this is what we're going to do. Okay. Guys, I appreciate you guys showing up first thing this morning. I'm sorry that I don't have more for you, but I am really just I was surprised by this. And so we gotta work on that. So thanks a lot, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. So take care.